Welcome into the Boardroom Podcast. I'm Ward 6 Alderman Ben Piper.
Ward 4 Alderman Chad Wicker.
We've got a special guest again. This is
Bruce.
We're on a hot streak here with the special guests. We have brought in Ward 3 Alderman Bruce Robinson to join us today. Bruce, tell everybody hey.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. And Bruce is hosting us out here at his house, at his pool house of all places. So if you hear any water bubbling or anything like that, it's just the pool out there that's rocking and rolling for us. So
sorry I don't have AC out here, but it's okay.
No, it's all good.
I got AC in my pool house, so
I don't have a pool or a pool house, so I'm lacking on that front. But it's a beautiful night here in Hernando. It is Thursday, June 19th, and sunset on the square and all those things are rocking and rolling here in Hernando. We are going to we're going to recap our meeting from Tuesday. But
yeah, so we did the episode with Andrew Miller before the board meeting. So now we're going to talk about the board meeting and then talk to Mr. Bruce.
All right. So on June 17th, we had our second regular scheduled Board of Alderman meeting at
and more
Hernando
importantly,
City Hall.
the last meeting of that 4-year term.
It was the last. So each 4-year term has 96 meetings.
Yes.
So it was the 96th meeting for
regular called meeting.
Regular called meeting. Thank you. For that Board of Aldermen. Doc Harris will be rolling off as a Alderman at large, and Beth Roan Ross will also roll off as Ward 5 Alderman to be replaced by Lauren McClendon and Kit Kitchens, respectively, at the July 1st meeting. We'll be sworn into office again on June 29th, this upcoming Sunday at 4 p.m. at the Hernando Court. Is it the courthouse or courtroom, Chad? What do you think? The courthouse?
I call it the Gale Center, the courthouse at the Gale Center.
Yeah.
Or as Andrew Miller said, the Button Factory.
The Button Factory. And we will we have State Supreme Court Justice Bobby Chamberlain.
Is that who's doing it again?
I believe
I don't even
right.
know who's doing it. Is that who's doing it? Good.
I believe he's swearing us in, which is pretty cool to have a State Supreme Court Justice to swear us in on June 29th. So that'll be fun. But before we jump into talking more with Bruce about the last 4 years and the next 4 years, let's go over some of our agenda items. Let's go from probably the biggest news, right, was the announcement that the Tractor Supply company was coming.
Tractor Supply?
Tractor Supply. I mean, you're the one that, listen.
Huh? I got hacked.
You got hacked? Okay, all right. Facebook aficionado over there. He got hacked, but no, it is coming. Tractor Supply Company is coming to about 12 acres of land on the southeast corner of 269 and McIngvale, right there near, if you know where the field house is, and there's a big Entergy substation there. It will be right in that area. So we'll have a
Bruce, is that your ward there? Is that y'all tie up? That's you.
No, that's all Ben right there.
That's big.
Yeah, that's Ward 6. So Ward 6 will have a Tractor Supply.
I do think it's going to be a good spot there.
Does Granger know you approved a Tractor Supply to come in here?
I will not comment on that for sure. They are a competitor of my employer, so that is something that's legit. I think the big thing with it is that they're a well-known brand for sure. If you like going to the co-op, if you like going to the Complete Home Center, they're still going to be there. If you want to help keep them in business, keep going to them. And I probably will keep going to them as well. I don't know what Tractor Supply has, so we'll just have to wait and see what they provide for the community. I do know that our planning director said they were going to try to be up and running by Black Friday. I don't know if that is a realistic goal or not, but that seems like a really
That's
quick.
Gonna be tough.
That'd be a really quick construction deadline.
Maybe 2026.
Yeah, but I think they have a goal to have a brick and mortar location in Hernando in the year 2025 by the end of the calendar year. So we'll just have to wait and see what they can do.
I mean, like you said, they're a national brand, so they probably have their design already there. They probably have their, they know what they're doing. So, but that's a quick turnaround. So.
That parcel of land there, so to give you some background and history, because I think there is some narrative out there like, well, why is the city doing this? In 2018, that land was rezoned to C2 property. It was unanimously passed by a previous Board of Aldermen. there were no restrictions on the uses put with that zoning. So that means basically there's about 133 uses within commercial 2 zoning. So all of those uses are allowed. So something like Tractor Supply could come in there. You could have a restaurant come in there. There's a ton of zones in there, or there's a ton of uses in there. Banks, financial institutions, office space, medical space. There's a lot of different options there. So this is just one of them. It's a retail spot that has a fairly big brand name.
And I think originally Wade was going to bring the John Deere dealership out there, right?
That's when it was rezoned. I was on the planning commission then, and that was what we were told is that John Deere was going to relocate right there to have some, they want some interstate
Right.
visibility, and then I think at some point they changed their mind. And I think they're not, obviously.
Now down on Fall.
Yeah, they're going to be off at, is that
Tulane.
Tulane,
Tulane.
yeah, Tulane
Yeah,
and
Tulane
69
and 269.
is where they're going to relocate. So it is what it is. But that, I think that's the first, building block or domino to fall to get some more commercial development on up that corridor there towards the school. So.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that McIngvale corridor is going to have some businesses located off of it.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that the timing of it is positive for one really huge reason. I think that the board was very, I'm trying to think of the best word, very persistent in following up on the Green Tea McIngvale roundabout right there to get that intersection addressed. Because we've had some accidents there that have been really, really.
I'll say, I mean, both of you two guys have been very aggressive in getting something done there, getting some type of traffic device or whatever. I know there was initially some hesitation because MDOT, controls that right of way coming off the 269, but I think we came up with a pretty good solution. So, but you guys have pushed that issue since day one. So.
Oh yeah, we talked about it, and I can remember getting the packet on the McIngvale Street where I think we estimated 4 million plus, and it came in at 2.5.
Yep.
And I called Chip. I said, "Hey, let's use that money for the roundabout and try to get it started for the school starts."
Yeah, and we're gonna be real close if we don't get it done.
It's
going to be
rain. Yeah, there's been quite a bit of rain, but you can already see. I think some people have asked, hey, what's going on the intersection because they're tearing up the right of way right there, and there's some orange cones out there. That's what's going on. So if everything went absolutely perfectly, which I don't think that we can plan on that. If everything went absolutely perfectly, they would be done around July 21st or July 22nd, about 10 days before school starts. So that doesn't mean that it won't be done by the time school starts. It could be done enough. Like if you remember the McIngvale Holly Springs roundabout, it was open for a period of time when it wasn't 100% complete.
It was usable.
And then it was usable, but it wasn't
you got to come back and
completed.
stripe it and things like that.
So there may be a potential there where the roundabout can be opened up for the beginning of school, and then over the weekend it can be completed. There's some other options there, but hopefully we won't have to deal with that. We're gonna pray for perfection and hope that we get close. The other thing we had, we gave a we acknowledged or proclaimed, or we gave a letter of recognition to Sassy Malden for being elected president of the Garden Clubs of Mississippi, which we had done in the previous meeting. So it was National Garden Week, and we gave a community service award to the Hernando Civic Garden Club. But we recognized Ms. Malden for her election.
We were just talking about that before we
Yeah.
Went live. That's a tremendous honor to be,
Absolutely.
representing the entire state. So that's great. I mean, that's another, representation of Hernando, like Andrew Miller was talking about on the other episode. Always trying to get Hernando to the forefront at the state level. So
Mississippi's the Magnolia State. So, I mean, we're.
Hey, not only that, Austin got an award.
Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
Mississippi
That's right.
Main Street. That's right.
He was given the Hero of Main Street Award.
Yeah.
I think I think what that recognizes is more of like from a conservation standpoint, like trying to capture that Main Street,
Well, and I think some people would probably, and I may not need to say this, but people don't agree with this, but I think Austin, the planning department, they do want to try to keep that small town charm. When they look at these projects, they encourage the developer to do certain things. And people may not see that, but they do work very hard to kind of keep that, especially in the downtown area and some of these developments, to keep a good sense of what Hernando
Absolutely.
it is. And so But it's difficult. I mean, there's different ways. When we first took Austin, I don't think it was a secret. There was a lot of, the perception was Hernando was hard to do business, and I think Austin has been a big reason that's not so much the case anymore, and we've seen some development come to Hernando. So,
yeah, I think he's done a great job, and I would say that was probably one of the biggest hires we made in our first term, all working together.
Yes, that was, we came in, we didn't have a planner. The one before had died, and we kind of had a temporary planner. B.J. Page, I think, was his name. Mm-hmm. And we fell into Austin. I think you guys actually were kind of recruited him over, so I think some supervisors were mad at you guys because he was kind of the heir apparent there at the county. But
I'll plead guilty.
But yeah, he had been approached early on. I think he initially turned down, but after speaking to you guys, and I think that he had a conversation with the mayor, of course, I think he, y'all changed his mind. So we were glad to have him. He's done a great job.
Yeah, no, he's, me out on the campaign trail and just the business I'm in, that's one of the number one things. Planning department needs some serious upgrades.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's getting the job done.
And that's our most downloaded episode is the one we had Austin on. It was called, why do we have so many Mexican restaurants? that thing's been downloaded over like 12,000 times. So
Holy moly!
I think we got 2 on the agenda next.
Mexican restaurant?
Yeah.
I like a little Mexican food.
No, I'm just teasing.
I'm a Mi Pueblo guy. He's La Siesta. What's your go-to?
La Siesta.
Oh, my God.
Our blue agave.
2 out of 3. Let's go. It depends on what you're getting too, though. I will say that.
Hey, Gordo takes care of me, man. We went there last night with the family, so.
I'm a big fan of the at Blue Agave. The queso fundido is better than anywhere else. Like, it's a really good appetizer if you like that. So
yeah, which
shout out.
Martin, he owns Blue Agave and La Siesta.
Yeah, that's right.
And the little pizza place.
Yeah, he does. He runs a good business. His place he does a good job.
So we have Miss Malden. We have Tractor Supply. Additionally,
the Hernando lady. Go ahead. No, did I cut you off?
Well, no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So additionally with the Tractor Supply, there are 5 out parcels that will border that McIngvale Road. We're not really sure what exactly is going to go there right now, but they are trying to recruit businesses to go there. So we could have restaurants there, we could have shops, we could have boutiques, it could be banks. We're not really sure, but there'll be 5 parcels of land that are around that acre to 2 acre size that will go there and kind of flesh out that corridor just a little bit more. The other news, the other recognition that we gave was to the Hernando High School softball team. So know this, Hernando High School softball team had a phenomenal year this year. 7A North Half champions. So they were the runners up for the state championship in 7A, which is the highest classification of sports here in the state of Mississippi. The Lady Tigers had a great season. They turned out in great numbers for the meeting, and certainly very proud of them.
They're going to be very competitive next year too, Bruce. I mean, I think you keep up with it quite a bit. They're bringing a lot of that team back. I think that junior class, is pretty strong. It's coming back. So
absolutely. What were they? 34-4, and 2 of their losses was in the last week of the season.
Well, I think they had Arkansas signee on the team, several community college signees. So
they're going to be good. Yeah. It's going to be a good way to break in the new high school. Win a championship.
That would be awesome.
That would be really cool. So
softball's been softball's been a bit of a dynasty for the north half of the state for sure.
Softball. Even when I was in high school, back in the early 2000s, we were strong in softball. We've always had a strong softball.
Hey, speaking of Hernando sports, did y'all hear about Blake Jones?
No.
He's resigned. He's no longer going to be the basketball coach for the girls.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Was he going to take another job?
No, his side gig where he's doing the credit card.
Oh, okay. All right. So a new Hernando High School girls basketball coach could be underway.
Well, they were very good this year. So
they were very good.
Yeah, and they would have been real good this year too.
For sure. Going into that new high school, there is news. The ribbon cutting has been set for the new high school. It's on July 25th at 10 a.m. I'm assuming the public can be invited.
Yes, it's open to the public.
I mean, it's a phenomenal facility. If you haven't had an opportunity to go by there, really getting to go inside there. I've gotten a couple of sneak peeks getting to go inside the new high school, and it's fantastic. I mean, it really is going to be.
My understanding is they're going to do the ribbon cutting. They're also going to do an open house prior to students coming. So
Okay.
there'll be a couple opportunities to try it out. What else in the meeting?
It's really going to be special. I'm trying to think of what was the other. Help me out, Chad.
We extended the emergency declaration.
Yeah, that was
at the
oh, yeah.
request of the mayor and the clerk.
So by state statute, we're required to revisit any emergency declaration every 30 days. This stems from the EF1 tornado that hit Hernando in that Thousand Oaks area, Oak Bridge Drive area, Jaybird Road. We declared a state of emergency so that way we could start on the cleanup effort, and then also just anything that was needed at that time. I think there was some discussion around just what exactly is the accounting on that? Have we tapped out on our subcontractors? I think there's been some discussion about that, because this isn't something that we necessarily have a fund for. There's no tornado fund where we have $1 million sitting there waiting to clean up things.
Well, I think also, Ben and Bruce, is that people assume that FEMA or MEMA
Gonna pay for it.
starts sending money to us right away. And we may end up getting some money if it meets the criteria, but right now it's all on the city of Hernando. And again, we're looking at maybe $200,000-$300,000 worth of expenses that were not budgeted. And we'll make it work, but I think a lot of people just assume the federal government or the state is going to come in and drop a check off to us, and it doesn't work like that.
Well, it's important to note that Governor Reeves had several counties that got aid from MEMA, and one of the ones that wasn't included in that press release was Tate County. Well, we all know that Tate County was hit.
We got hit hard.
I mean, there was several homes that were completely destroyed. And it has to do, from what I understand, with were the homes insured or uninsured. There's a lot of different metrics that they look at when they're deciding where the aid goes.
And I think the aid's going to go to a lot of poorer counties.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce, you're an insurance guy, so this is right up your alley. I mean, there's if you have home insurance, there's not a lot of damage after insurance pays. You know what I mean? So
You're going to be all right.
so you get nervous when those storms come in?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not going to lie. When the tornado came in, we were actually in Disney World.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, because we text. Yeah,
I woke up about 1 o'clock in the morning and had 20 texts. I was like, "What the heck's going on?" Yeah. And
they want to talk to the insurance agent quick, don't they?
yeah, I called Chip. I said, "We just got hit."
Which that's really when I've been in that scenario, when I've had situations like that, your insurance agent is not the person to call. It's like the claims number or whatever. I mean, there's a 1-800 number to call, but it was definitely a very very nerve-wracking night, I think, for a lot of people in Hernando, and we're still in recovery mode. I will say that the cleanup is ongoing, and we're going to continue to ask for patience from folks. We still have some dumpsters out there for folks that are able to bring small batches of debris, like whether it's in trucks or you have bag debris or whatever it may be. We still have those dumpsters out there where you can drop those things off.
You can't bring your tires and paint and all that
There's no
stuff?
tires or paint or car batteries or whatever else you're wanting to throw away.
If you do, Ben digs them out and takes them back home, brings them back to you.
He can sell the batteries.
Yeah. So we aren't able to do any of those kind of hazardous materials, but if you have any kind of vegetation debris.
Ben, do you kind of want to explain how we're kind of tag teaming with the county, how we're operating with, I think we're picking up the stuff and then taking it to our office, and then they're picking it up in dump trucks or something and taking it to the rubbish pit for us?
Sure. So the city of Hernando has a public works department that's located off Whitfield Drive. Yeah, or is it Whitfield Cove? Whitfield Drive. It's one of those two. How to Barbecue Right is right there. So that's a good way to look for it. But so our city trucks have been picking up and dropping off on that piece of property to pile up as much debris as possible. So that way they can continue to come back and make more trips as quickly as possible, rather than going all the way out to the rubbish pit, which is 45 minutes away. So round trip, that's an hour and 30, hour and 45 minutes. You just go and dump it in that place. So from what I understand, the county has really helped out
They have some larger dump trucks, right?
They have some larger dump trucks, so they bring the dump trucks there, and we use our knuckle boom trucks to get that old debris into the dump trucks and get it taken to the rubbish pit to kind of get that space cleared off so our trucks can continue to work.
It's almost like a relay.
Right. Now, that being said, I would love it for all 4 of our brush trucks to be going nonstop to address this really important issue, but there are still water leaks that spring up across the city. There's sewer issues. There's other things that pop up that Public Works has to prioritize that sometimes going to become a higher priority than picking up debris, unfortunately. So we just continue to ask for patience because they are doing, I feel like they're doing everything they can. And the city only has limited resources to privatize some of the pickup.
And I think the mayor has said if you have an issue with a pickup, just to call his office, and his assistant there will, try to get you picked up as soon as possible.
Yeah.
If you have an old water bed,
Yeah.
just get it out there and call them, I guess. I
Don't throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah,
But
please don't
another
throw the
thing is
dumpster.
they're not picking up anything that's in plastic bags.
That's right.
Correct.
That's right.
That's right. Anything else from our Tuesday meeting, Chad, that really pops out for you?
Do you want to talk about the agreement with Civil Link? That's something you've worked on for a couple of years now.
Yeah, so Civil Link is, if you don't know already, engineering company that the city's partnered with on several projects, but they also did a road study for the city where they graded every road in the city from 1 to 10, 1 being Old McIngvale Road, where it was basically half gravel and half asphalt, to a level 10 road, which is I'm trying to think of a road that we've paved recently, a newly paved road, New McIngvale Road, right? So it went from a level 1 to a level 10. That's a great way to put it, Bruce. What we decided to do was to hire Civil Link as a service provider, or give them a general services contract, I guess is the best way to put it, so that they can create lists for us based on that study to pave roads across the city. So what that will mean is it doesn't necessarily mean that the 10 worst roads in the city will be paved that year. It may mean that the 3 or 4 of the worst streets get paved. And then there's going to be streets that have crack seal that's done where they put tar across the cracks that are there, and it gets glossed over there, so that way we're good to go. They may use a slurry seal or something like that on some of the streets that need that, to try to stretch those dollars to make them go a little bit further.
I thought you changed the name to that crack seal to the Brian Couch treatment.
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know?
So basically what
anything
it's
about
doing
that.
is not going to let me turn in every street in my ward.
More or less, yeah. So it's to try to get those dollars to stretch as far as you can.
I drove over here, Ben. These roads over here are pretty good shape. I don't know what he's done over. He must be bribing somebody.
You drive down
my
Green Tea?
gosh. Goodness gracious. I drove down Green Tea.
It's
Green
bad,
Tea
isn't
needs
it?
some help. Green
It's
Tea needs a little
bad.
help. Green Tea does need a little help for sure.
Everybody in the subdivision has a Jeep comes says, hey, we need to do something Green Tea.
Get him some crack seal.
Yeah, it is, but it is something where I think that study really focused in on, the city needs to be spending, $2.2 to $2.5 million a year, based on inflation, based on the price of diesel, based on everything else that goes on, to kind of catch up. And one of the main things that we use for that is the internet sales tax money.
You need to tell Lindsay to buy more stuff online so we can pay
Yeah,
more
internet
roads.
sales tax. Yeah, it
My
is
wife takes
super
care of
helpful.
that. Don't worry about it.
She's keeping up. She's keeping us straight.
Package every day.
So that's about 1.5 to 1.6 million a
Yes.
year. So it does get us quite a bit of the way there. There's certainly grant funds that we search for and all that to try to get it caught up. But so that is the big thing with Civil Link now. We're really partnering with them more so than just having our city engineer really take that all on his plate, all on his own. So we have a little more resources to try to hopefully get things moving as quickly as possible.
Well, we have so many various different projects going on in our city. I think it makes sense to have some, maybe hire these guys to give us some help, because the way that contract is written, we can, if we need it, we have a stormwater issue, we can contract them to look into that. If we have a road issue, various different issues, they're able to help us. And I think it's $95 an hour or whatever that rate is. So it's a pretty good price on that. And I think it's just something else to get us, another advancement in what we've done on the board to get us where we need to be.
And they are currently working with the city of South Haven, which I don't know if that's a plus or a minus, but they did the massive expansion of Getwell Road.
Sure.
Right? Anybody that rode that, I mean, that was
I drive it every day.
That was an
It's
enormous
awesome.
project. That was a huge project with the landscape medians and, expanding that road out. It was definitely super needed, and they oversaw that entire project.
Now we just need to get it from Star Landing to Bahia.
That will be what's coming next. So we'll continue to have to look at that. But let's move on to the interview. I guess it's the interview portion. I mean, it's
interview
just kind of
section?
it's a casual conversation.
I
It's
was kind
not
of
like
having fun with this.
Well, I think that's really all from the meeting, though.
Yeah, that was the big. That was definitely the big things, and we certainly send our best wishes to Doc, who will continue to serve the city of Hernando in the city in Jackson down there in the legislature, and hopefully he can find ways to bring some state dollars back to Hernando, and for Beth Roan Ross for her 4 years of service. I know that this is a city that she cares deeply about.
Right.
She ran for office in 2017 and 2021 and also in 2025. So, I mean, to run for that position 3 times, you really want to do it.
Yeah, she's a lifelong Hernando. And one thing I want to mention, I guess I should have mentioned at the board meetings, we all came in, it was 5 new ones that came in together. And I didn't really know any of you guys beforehand, and we've all kind of become very friendly, good friends. And you're gonna miss your buddies that you've kind of over the last 4 years been through some fights with and argued with about certain
Good
things.
and bad, yeah.
And so you develop that camaraderie with them, and next meeting, Beth's not going to be there. It's going to be a new alderman, and so it's bittersweet.
And one of the things Beth was very passionate about was the roundabout.
Sure, yeah,
And,
she got that done.
She got that done, and I know that was on her list, and I'm proud of her for doing that. And of course, us as a board, we helped her as well.
Yeah, and she's going to still be around. She'll be around. We'll see her. So.
Absolutely.
That's what she told me anyway. We'll see how she does.
Hey, all you gotta do is go Friday night at the parish and see her.
Yeah, she does. She likes the parish now. So we did go all out to eat after the meeting, one last time as a group. So looking forward to the next term and getting some new things done. But gonna miss those guys, so for sure.
I'm trying to think how many companies in Hernando we've given free advertising to already. We got the parish, we got Complete Home Center, we got the Tri-County Ag, we got all the places. So you are welcome. For all the folks that listen
Ben
in.
gets all the checks on
Oh,
this deal.
come on,
so.
here we go.
I had to come. You saw it, who comes set everything up? He just walks in here with his little hat on and just starts talking. He
here
says
we
he's a
go.
talent. He don't have to do
Here
any
we
of the
go.
setup.
You set everything up, and all he
Yeah.
did is come in, sit in the chair, and let's
Here
go.
we go. All right. Well, I don't know how to answer to that, but I feel like I did something. I plugged something in at some point. I don't know. So Bruce, the last 4 years, was there one thing or was there a couple things that you really drove you to run for alderman in 2021 to sort of start this journey of public service?
There were several things. Of course, I've got 3 kids growing up here. They all went to school, play sports, and my goal is I want this to be a safe city where when they get out of school, hopefully they can come back and have my grandkids come stay here and have a safe environment. Great parks, and public safety is a big deal. I feel like over the last 4 years we've increased firemen,
Yeah,
EMT, police officers,
for sure.
And speaking of firemen, here's something we got to be thinking about here in the next, I don't know if the next 4 years, but 4 to 8 years, we're going to need another fire station out towards
Sure.
Getwell and Bahia, and that's not going to be cheap. So that's something as a board we got to look at.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So when you think about the city, if everybody can, have a map of Hernando in their head, if you know where the 4 fire stations are, there's one that's in the back of City Hall.
We only got 3 right now.
Correct. There's one in the back of City Hall. There's one on Highway 51, just north of Cross Creek and Green Tea Road, Green
Just
Tea.
Yeah,
south of Pleasant Hill.
Yeah, but
And then there's
yeah.
one in kind of the southeast corner of the city, right there in near Holly Springs and McIngvale. We were just talking about where the roundabout is. So that northeastern quadrant where you have
The biggest
the
thing
high
is
school being built.
the high school up there.
Delta Landing, the field house, some of this commercial development we've already talked about, there'll have to be, at some point, a fire station built there.
Yeah, and
We've had some land donated, I believe, part of the development at Getwell or
yeah,
Farms.
talked about it. Yeah,
I think they're offering us a parcel there to put a fire station at some point. It's just, that's going to be a major expense. Obviously, the fire station, but then staffing the fire station is going to be a major investment. So,
and once we get that, I've talked to fire chief about it, Marshall, and hopefully, right now we're protection class 5. If we can get down to protection class 4 or 3, that's going to help everyone in the city with their insurance.
Absolutely.
All their rates going to go down. So that's something to think about as well.
and I'll say something. I work in Tate County now, and I get the Tate County paper, and they were celebrating. One of the volunteer fire departments had an 8 rating,
Yeah.
and that was a big celebration.
Oh yeah, because it probably was a 10. and
Yeah, they went from
insurance
a
was
10 to
double.
an 8. And so we're sitting at a 5, and we want to go lower. So that's just a difference in when you invest in public safety and have the means to do that.
Yeah.
Well, certainly, we have a phenomenal fire department. You think back to, a couple years ago when the Hampton Inn fire, no one was injured. It's a 4-story building. It's one of the tallest buildings in the city, right?
That was an expensive cigarette bud, wasn't it?
And no one was
What do you call that insurance business, Bruce?
Yeah, no one was injured. Nobody was killed. And there's basically a gas buildup and explosion that occurred in one of the largest buildings in the city, and there was no serious injuries or fatalities. I think they do a phenomenal job, but as we continue to grow, we have to grow with it. So it's a good call out, Bruce, for sure.
Yeah.
When you think back for the last 4 years, what are you most proud that this board accomplished, or just something you're really pleased to see that we accomplished in the last 4 years?
I think we did quite a bit, and I know I'm going to miss a lot of stuff, but let's start with personnel. Parks, Parks Department was not in the great shape. We hired Jared, and that's major improvement over what we've had. Planning Director, awesome job. City Clerk, Pam, great job. I can go on and on. Lee's doing a great job. Police Chief, Fire Chief, all of them's doing a great job. Some other improvements, infrastructure. Who would have thought our first 4 years would have had 3 roundabouts?
That's right.
That's
mean,
an interesting way to put it.
Who would have thought that? And and from what I'm hearing, MDOT, October, November is fixing to bid out roundabout for Green Tea and 51. So that'll probably be sometime in.
That's a
yeah.
game changer there. That's a very busy intersection.
So that'd be sometime. I'm assuming spring of 2026.
Well, I think what's it that Laurelwood subdivision back there? A lot of complaints out there about trying to cross traffic there and stuff. So
Laurelwood at Copperleaf Arbor Point.
And then hey, we got the animal shelter built, paid for. We bought the Civic Center parks, doing the Renaissance Park, turf fields.
yeah.
I know we were talking about it earlier. We're getting a lot of complaints. Especially the last few weeks, a lot of games being canceled. Rain. These turf fields is gonna, might not make that go to 0, but it's gonna help.
We definitely accomplished a lot, and I agree with you on the standpoint of having some kind of option for baseball and softball, and that's one of those things that we really poured over and discussed quite a bit. Was buying the Civic Center baseball fields. We had an option at that point. We could have torn those fields up and put turf fields on that old property, and we probably would have canceled baseball and softball for 2 years, maybe even 3 years. Who knows what kind of things we would have uncovered. But I think everybody on the board wanted to continue to have a program. And so we shifted our focus to, the Renaissance Park, build new fields there, continue to let kids play at Renaissance Park, and then continue to let them play at the Civic Center ball fields. And then when Renaissance Park's completed, start moving games over there and use the Civic Center ball fields for practice fields or, for T-ball or whatever else. So I think it's going to be something long-term that's going to work out. It's just, it has been a really frustrating year in terms of how much rain, we've gotten here in Hernando.
Well, we've talked about this, guys. It's difficult for us because we get compared because we're right here close to Snowden Grove. San Antonio has a nice complex. Horn Lake has a nice complex. Oxford has a super nice complex.
New Albany.
In New Albany, we can't compete with those. I mean, we were not given a large piece of land to build on. We had to buy the land.
They all have a penny for the park.
They all have a revenue source to pay for that. And so we are doing the best we can with what we got. We're going to have a very nice. If they just be patient, I think we're going to.
It's going to be nice.
We're about a year away from opening those fields. I think is it going to be the spring of 27? I think is
so.
Something like that. Maybe the fall of 26. Hopefully, maybe. Anyway, we
Fall of 26. Fall of 26.
We're going to be there, and just be patient. We're doing the best we can with the resources we have. Obviously, we can go dump $30 million into it when we wouldn't have any police officers or fire department.
No streets.
I don't think that's what people want. So go ahead.
Speaking of streets, what did we spend the last 4 years? A little over $7 million?
Yeah, a little over $7 million were invested.
And
And we don't even talk about the ARPA money, Bruce.
Right.
That we invested that was doubled, basically free money that we put into the ground all over the city. So.
It's been a great 4 years, and hopefully these next 4 years be just as good.
So talking about the next 4 years, there's been a lot we've accomplished. There's still things on that list that we want to check off the next 4 years and, there on about. But what would you think is kind of a priority as we're turning the page the next 4 years of this next term, serving together on the Board of Alderman?
Obviously just mainly keep up with what we've been doing. Keeping our streets paved, improving the parks. If we can get this phase 1 of the parks done, hopefully by the end of this next term, maybe bid out phase 2 or whatever, if we have the funds.
Ben's been talking to Granger. I think they're going to pay for phase 2.
They're going to sponsor it, right?
Yeah. As much as I spend with them in Tate County, they're going to have to.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
I got to check that record. I don't know. We'll have to check that. Fact check.
But
so infrastructure, parks,
and we got to make sure we take care of our police, firemen, all of our first responders. We got to have a safe environment here, and
well, Bruce, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but one thing I think that I'm in, and Andrew kind of threw the question back on us last is we've really increased the salary to our employees when we took office. We made it a priority to invest in our biggest asset, our employees, and so they have really gotten a good pay raise each year. And we came in and we got everybody to $15 an hour, so that's what our lowest paid employee makes, and we've actually built on that. I don't think anybody's actually making $15 anymore. I think they're a little higher than that now. But
I think everybody got a pay raise first year, but the alderman.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That is right.
That was Ben's big deal. No. That's what he kept saying. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we didn't know. We always joke, but we never took this job for what we get paid, and so we are the lowest paid in DeSoto County, though.
Yeah, no.
There's walls.
No, I don't think there's a single one of us on the board.
No,
or even the two newcomers on the board. They're not taking it for the money.
Absolutely not. And there's a lot of things I think we can spend money on besides increasing our. I'll tell you guys something funny. I keep up with different things across the state, and the mayor of Vicksburg lost. Okay, George Flagg lost.
Took a $20,000 pay cut.
And so the last board meeting, he lowered the mayor's salary.
No, he didn't.
$20,000.
And so they have, and Vicksburg has a unique system. They have a mayor and two aldermen. And so basically the mayor and another alderman can run everything. And so he knew that the new mayor wasn't going to vote like that. And the other alderman voted no. So it was 2-1 to lower the salary to $20,000. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
I did
a little reading
wild
on that this week. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's some wild stuff, because you would think that there would be some kind of mechanism within a state statute.
And even funnier is I believe he took the $20,000 and put it like to a youth program or something to kind of.
I think if it had been me as mayor, if I'd lost, I'd probably cut it in half.
There you go.
There are things. I mean, this is an educational moment.
Yeah.
I think for folks when they when they hear things like that. So there are things that are in place from the state level that don't allow cities to, for example, sign on to a contract that lasts for 10 years or something in the last waning months or the last waning meetings of your term, correct?
That's right.
You can't spend more than a quarter of the city's budget.
There has to be
during your
25% remaining
Yeah.
when they take office.
You can't spend that money and basically have a new board take office and be like, well, good luck, you have $10 left in the general fund. So there are like those guardrails in place that the state's put into place. So that's been one of those things that we've been balancing as we're kind of turning the page
and kind of what you're talking. So any once we get sworn in again and take office July 1st, we're a new board. So any contract, the new board can't be held to a contract the prior board engaged in. So we can, if we wanted to, go in there on day one and say, nope, we don't like that contract with Silver Link anymore. I don't think we're going to do that, but we certainly would be legally allowed to do that. Now they may file some type of lawsuit against us or something like that, but there's no fun. That's a service contract. It's a little different. But if you had some type of contract in place, you could make an argument that you can't be bound to a prior contract.
Right. Hey, let's talk about this upcoming year. I think the property tax assessment
Yeah, let's talk about that.
is going to be raised quite a bit. So it's my understanding you can only, from a tax standpoint, have a 10% raise or something like that. So we're going to have to lower the mill to kind of offset that, correct?
Have we talked about that yet, Ben?
So
We have a little bit.
We may see if we can get Jeff on before.
yeah.
It's really one of those things that is very complicated.
Right. So what I think it is, we're not really, we're lowering, I think we'll have to lower the mill, but what we'll probably try to do is, if you're paying $2,000 a year for property tax, try to keep it at that, whereas if you didn't lower the mill, you'd be paying $2,500.
Yeah, so I'll
Sure.
try to explain without murdering it. So I think we had Jeff Fitch on early on when we started doing the podcast, and he assesses a property right now at about 50% of what it's worth.
Right.
And I believe by a state statute that was passed that he has to do a reassessment that he's already done, and starting July 1st, he's going to assess your property at 80%. So it's a 30% increase. So if you have a piece of property that's worth, $100,000, he's taxing you at $50,000. That's going to go to $80,000.
Right.
So a mill, which is a tenth of what your property's worth, is going to increase in value. So right now in Hernando, one mill is about $200,000. So that's probably going to go up to, the 30% is what is that on 200,000? 260. So you're going to see an increase of what a mill is. And so I think what we're talking about doing is lowering our millage rate to make it the tax burden
balance
neutral.
out. Right.
So you may see a lower our millage rate right now is 40.2 or something like that.
40.76.
Yeah. So we may lower that to 36, 37, 38, whatever, to reduce that impact. And that's the same for the school board. So your taxes, you pay to the school board, the taxes you pay to DeSoto County, and the taxes you pay to the city of Hernando.
Yeah, so for example, I think I've used this example before in some of our previous episodes, but let's say the property taxes on my house are about $2,500, right? Let's just throw it out there, right? So the city of Hernando gets around $750 of that, and then the school board or DeSoto County Schools gets $850 of it, and then the county gets their $850 or whatever the numbers add up to, right? That's really kind of how that breaks down. So in situations like we are in right now, where the county is helping out the city of Hernando, the county in a way should be helping the city of Hernando because people pay taxes to DeSoto County. Right. That's part of our total tax bill. Now, certainly, if they want to take care of people that are in the unincorporated part of the county first, absolutely, I completely understand that part. But they are totally within their due diligence to take care of folks in the city as well and to kind of help us out. They have a much larger budget than we do. DeSoto County Schools, I think they're going to take some amount of an increase at some point because
it's all rumor right now. We won't know it. I mean, Jeff Fitch, from what I understand, at the meeting on their first meeting of July it's the week after ours, so I think July 7th. is their first, or July 6th is their first meeting. He's going to produce the
numbers.
The numbers. So then we'll use that to start working off what we're going to do. So
Yeah, but like speaking of where the county helps us out, they actually, it's nice of them to help us out on the roundabout, extending that one lane.
Sure.
To and that was about $100,000 they help us out on.
It's all about working together.
Right.
Right. I mean, they definitely do things to help us out. They extend projects out for us, and then we sometimes have to pay them back for our portion of the project and everything else.
McIngvale's a very good example of everybody working together, state, county, and city all paid a portion of that.
The Getwell Road expansion
Exactly.
that Bruce mentioned earlier from Star Landing to Byhalia, the county's going to foot a good portion of the bill, and Hernando is going to be a portion of it. But the county has been more than generous, I think, to help the city of Hernando, be viable in some of these projects. So we do have a huge task in front of us as we're looking at this. As the millage rate is going to be something that's continually talked about, we do have to, by state statute, pass a municipal budget by September 15th.
That's right.
So that's the countdown clock that's ticking down. We'll have 2 new aldermen that are sworn in on June 29th, and July 1st will be their first meeting. That is another one of those meetings where there are folks that have to be appointed at that first meeting, or they need to be given basically an interim title. That's the other potential option, right, Chad? I mean,
Yeah, so you're talking about we're talking about the police chief,
Fire chief.
city attorney, fire chief, county attorney or city attorney, city judge, city prosecutor. There's a list of them that's going to be on that agenda that we have to approve. And then once we get those approved, they'll take office. Now there's some other, we don't have to approve any, but we can give them an interim status or whatever. But so that's the first. We did that when we first took office in our first meeting, and that's just the way you have to do that.
So that'll be the things that we watch for as July 1st approaches to start this second term. Bruce, what else do you have for us? Anything else you want to chime in on as we look at these next 4 years and working together?
Not that I can think of. I mean, we went over quite a bit of stuff.
We got a lot going on.
One thing I do want to say, I'm going to miss Doc and Beth a lot. We had a good 4 years together. I think this board was great. The biggest thing about all of us, none of us, there's items we didn't agree on, we disagreed. But once we walked out that city hall, it was behind us, and we didn't let it affect our next vote.
Yeah,
decision.
that's it. Yeah, I think that's.
And I want to welcome Kid and Lauren both to the board, and hopefully we all can work well together like we have the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think it's going to be just a really dynamic board. I think going forward, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different experiences.
Me and Lauren will be the 2 only engineers.
There you go. So I mean, there's that. What's your engineering?
Industrial.
Industrial engineer. I did not know that. Man, Renaissance man. Did not know.
Selling
that.
insurance.
Selling insurance.
Well, he's a huge Ole Miss fan. So how do you think we're going to do in football this year?
Oh man, we're going to go 0-12. Now, State, on the other hand, might go 12-0, but we're not.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Well, so it's been a pleasure having Ward 3 Alderman Bruce Robinson with us here on the Boardroom Podcast. Again, it's been one of those in the last month or so. We've tried to have Kit and Lauren on to discuss what they'd like to achieve as new aldermen, and then we partnered with our 3 retaining aldermen that we're bringing on. We talked with Natalie Lynch, we talked with Andrew Miller, and we talked with Bruce Robinson all separately to discuss what they're most proud of and also what they'd like to see the next 4 years. So I think it's been something that if you've listened to this entire series, you really understand kind of where the board sits currently and what there is to accomplish here in the next 4 years.
I think we're in good hands.
Yeah. Oh, I got one more thing I need to talk about.
Okay.
Meeting with Natalie, 3-point contest. I think, Chad, did you hear somebody say that they could beat the current Board of Alderman hands down on the 3-point contest?
That's what I heard.
Who said that?
You.
That's what you said.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, what are we doing there? Are we doing?
You know, we've talked multiple times about a basketball game, a
so
softball, kickball, whatever.
I'm challenging you to a 3-point contest.
Right. He's a legend. He's a basketball legend, Northeast Mississippi over there.
I have heard
High school legend.
I've heard that. Just give me the date and time. I guess we'll time up.
it up.
He'll get Ann Wallen to play for him. She plays on like 7 different teams.
Hey, he's going to be in the field house tonight about midnight till 6 a.m. in the morning.
Drum right, let him in, let him play.
I've got a goal right above the garage. That's the one I practice on. So y'all can come by anytime. Anytime.
I'm just picking on you.
Listen, I think I know our police and fire have done the kickball deal, right?
Yeah.
They've had the kickball deal. I think it'd be great if we had some sort of basketball deal.
Not only that, though, but we need to get the other 3 main cities. You know, maybe the Board of Alderman take on South Haven, that would be fun.
Let's do it.
Let's try to work on that. We'll work on that while we're down in Biloxi in July with them.
Yeah, listen, we're coming for you. So just, I guess, start running lines and trying to see what you can do against City of Hernando. I guess I don't know. City of Hernando, Olive Branch, Horn Lake, get ready. Walls, I guess I don't know. Walls, we'll see. Board of Supervisors, I don't know. Let's just throw them in there.
We'll be glad to throw them in there.
All right. Well, for now, I tell you what, I appreciate y'all joining us. For now, I am Ward 6 Alderman Ben Piper.
Ward 4 Alderman Chad Wicker.
And Ward 3, Bruce Robinson. Thank y'all.
Appreciate you listening to us.